I turned 26, bro. I turned 26 this year. Oh my god, I'm unk. I hate niggas so much. The unk shit.
Celebrating the success of someone like Charlie XCX, who had one of the biggest runs of any.
I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't prepared for those vibrations. I really am unk. What's all that movement back there? But so many people do tell themselves that they don't do that. I think I have the same exact lamp as him. I just peeped that. I was like, is that my lamp? Twin? Ow, I hit my hand.
Racist against rappers, they all look the same to him. They used to beg him not to egg him on Halloween. He told him holler back with the suede pumas, dollar green. Nah, I mean, heated up till the temperature tarball. Y'all just gawk like gargoyle.
I've already said this plenty of times, bro. But look, I'ma say it again, just so you understand me. Hip hop has got to have one of the most meanest communities on the internet, bro. Okay, well, I guess we're just gonna have to leave it like that. Dude, I literally, like, I don't get no privacy, dude. My dogs are so spoiled. They don't like it when I have my door closed. Like, they literally just sit and they scratch on my door. I don't ever close my door all the way just so my dogs can push it open and walk in here. Okay, look. We just got done playing with her. She's chilling on her big old doggy bed. That thing is huge. Takes up half of the room, right? Now, if I close my door, look at what she does. Look, you see how she just stopped? She stopped everything. I'll give it like 2 seconds. She's gonna want to walk out the door. As soon as she gets up though, I'm exposing. I just got done playing with her ass too. I know she tired. Anyway, like I was saying, hip hop gotta have one of the most bad mouth communities on the planet. There she go. What did I tell you? Like clockwork. Now I gotta open the door again. Like I gotta leave my door cracked just right so she can still walk in and out. Look, she just walked back in the room. Come here. How can I help you? What can I do? How can you be satisfied in this moment? Spoiled rotten. Alright, I got the door just right so she can so she can walk in and out the room and the whole house don't gotta hear me. Alright, let's just get into the video, bro. Pushing 30, ageism in music. That's what I'm trying to, that's the whole point I've been trying to get to this whole time. Jesus.
Flyana Boss ran TikTok in 2023. Literally.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I get aggravated every time I see this music video.
Flyana Boss ran TikTok in 2023.
I'm about to sin again.
Literally. You couldn't open the app in 2023 without hearing, "Hello Christ, I'm about to sin again," and then seeing these two rappers running towards the camera with the facial tracking and zoom.
Yeah.
They quickly gained a following on both TikTok and Twitter. And it's not hard to see why. They were easy to root for. There were two young girls hustling on the internet. They were going viral with consistency in bars and a visual style that to a lot of people was new. The song in those videos,
yeah, now it's a lot of young, like, quirky girls rapping, doing that same like face tracking while they're in a public area. You know what I'm saying? I just got tired of that first clip, the "I'm about to sin again," just because I heard it too damn much. Like every time, like on God, when I was on Instagram, every other reel was them running through the damn store saying, "I'm about to sin again." Like I don't like, girl, go ahead, sin 3 more times. I don't care.
Became a breakout hit for the duo. Currently sitting at over 50 million streams on Spotify and earning a remix with fellow viral female rapper
Missy Elliott,
Callie, and the legend Missy Elliott. It got them a spot on tour opening for Janelle Monáe. And the only reason it didn't get them a record deal is because they didn't need one. They already had one. They had signed to Atlantic Records 2 years before the virality.
What?
It seemed like the sky was the limit for them in 2023.
Yeah.
But like a lot of artists who go viral on the internet, maintaining that attention has been a challenge.
Yeah, that's honestly, it's really easy to go viral nowadays. Like, it's the easiest it's ever been, to be honest. Because I mean, everywhere, like every corner of life now is attached to the internet in some way, shape, or form. So literally, bro, if you just get people Like, if you just do something, and this is why the clout era happened, bro. If you literally are able to just do something that people are slightly interested in, you can go stupid viral. For real, for real. Now, like he said, maintaining that popularity, nah. No, almost nobody does it. Like, you gotta already, if you want to do that, you gotta already have like a steady fan base behind you, and then you go viral, and then you can keep on growing, you know.
Atlantic still hasn't let them put out an album. And
what?
while they've put out music that people who liked You Wish would probably also like, they've had trouble replicating the success of that first viral hit.
Yeah.
Life has also been getting in the way. One of the members had a baby in 2024. All
Shout out to her.
of that culminated in people recently asking on Twitter, hey, whatever happened to these girls? And one of the most
I already know they about to get clowned on.
popular responses to that tweet provided an answer that you might not have predicted. It wasn't that replicating viral success is hard, or that one member went through a pregnancy and now has a baby, or that they still hadn't dropped their album because being signed to a label is complicated. It was that people found out they were 30. It got to the point where they actually had to log on and clap back and
What? That's crazy.
or that they were 30.
Yo, they was really no, because look at this. People started hating when they realized they were 30 plus. No, look. Because look at the next couple of screenshots, bro. This is why you can't just take everything that you hear or see on the internet at face value. Look at this.
It got to the point where they actually had to log on
We're actually 42. Oh,
and
brother.
clap back.
So Flying in the Boss is in their 30s and running around. I'm applauding more.
And clarify that they weren't actually 30. And while their actual age is unclear, they're likely to be somewhere in their mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
The discourse started after their virality because in an interview they said they were in college listening to Ray Shremmerd. Me too, guys. To be fair,
I mean, like Ray Shremmerd dropped while you were in college? That's different. I was still bumping Ray Shremmerd like in college, but they weren't like just dropping.
there are almost as many people on the internet defending them from the ageism as there are people making fun of them for it. But the discourse has left me fascinated with the concept of age in music. Something about that big three in the tens place seems to scare the hell out of a lot of people. And you don't have to tell me twice. I have about 8 months left of my 20s personally. And as
Shout out to you, bro. There is nothing wrong with being 30 and chasing your dreams still. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's like I like the old head and the unk jokes, but ain't nothing actually wrong with being older, bro.
someone who also makes music, maybe music that some people would call young music, this is a topic that, is pretty relevant to my life. Is there an expiration date on making a certain type of music? What, if any, aspects of music should be reserved for people who still can't rent a car on their own? Or
Okay, so I want to touch on that first one that he said. Is there an expiration date for a certain type of music? I'm not gonna hold you. Yeah, it is. Cause it's certain it's certain types, it's certain genres, certain topics where like if somebody is rapping on it, it kind of sounds more like a young man's kind of game. You know what I mean? Like if I hear somebody stealing cars or something, you know what I mean? Like that I ain't gonna lie, that's something I expect like a young a YN to do. I think if you're 30 something stealing cars, bro, you're ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like I do think it is. But like for like the kind of more goofier upbeat music, no, I don't think there's an expiration date. Like they do be tweaking on Twitter talking about bro's literally 27 talking about this stuff. Like what is wrong with him? Like it's nothing wrong with him. What the hell?
is the playing field different depending on what you're known for and how long you've been known for? What about on the listener side? Once you hit 25, is it time for jazz? Is there no more room for youthful music?
Hey man, chill out on the 25, okay? I turned 26, bro. I turned 26 this year. Oh my God, I'm unk. Okay.
If I listen to Netspend, am I going to end up on a watch list? Or is it just as simple as good music is good music, no matter how old the creator or the listener is? Let's get into all that, but first...
My fault, bro. I just burped into the... I realized I didn't mute the mic when I was burping, bro. My apologies.
If you like videos on music like this one, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. Being almost 30, I have about 8 months left to catch Anthony Fantano before they put me in a retirement home. So I've got a lot of work to do.
Brother.
But seriously, I post a video on music every week. If you want to see them early, you can go to my Instagram, Haji Gaviota, throw me a follow, and join my broadcast channel. I post all my
314 members. It looks like you're doing pretty well for yourself, homie. Like, I'm glad to see it.
videos in that broadcast channel one day early for free. Also wanted to say thanks to everyone who's checked out my song Walk You Home from my group Elmjack. We have another song coming this month, A Bother, featuring Just End, dropping on March 19th, so stay tuned. It's going to be super
I like that look. I like that grainy style. It looks different.
fire. All right, back to the video.
Looks
We got to start
interesting.
by acknowledging that the idea of what's old in entertainment and the idea of what's old in real life are totally different. If you live in a country in the Western world, your life expectancy is likely to be around 80 years. People who are,
Jesus.
so to speak, pushing 30 are barely a third into their lifespan on average. But show up on Twitter or TikTok and say that you're 29.
Niggas is gonna be... I hate niggas so much. The unction.
And certain people might invite you to the unction or post that one video of the old Kevin Garnett Nets highlights or ask
Yo, okay, look. You know what, bro? If somebody invited me to the unction, bro, I will gladly go. I will gladly go to the unction. Don't play with me. Greetings. This is... Remember me? Why are people... What?
Ask if you remember them from Miss Ishtar's irrigation class back in ancient Mesopotamia.
That's
It creates
crazy.
this interesting dichotomy for an artist in their mid to late 20s.
Honestly, if people clowned me like that, like, I wouldn't even be mad. I would be laughing, bro. I would be laughing.
Because if they call themselves young around industry people or record label executives, they might get a scoff or a chuckle. But if they call themselves old around regular people, they're gonna get slapped upside the head.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a victim of doing that because, you know, I be telling people, I feel so old. They be like, boy, shut up. I still get called young man when I'm at work. You know? Like, I keep forgetting that. Like, I'm like one of the youngest guys at my job right now. So it's like, I you know, online and in my friend group, I'm like, we're turning into unks. Like, you might catch me, you know, with the sweater vest. You might catch me, like, our gatherings are at the cookouts, you know, type. But nah, like, I'm not actually old, and I don't think other people are actually old.
A singer named Lola Blanc acknowledged this in the first paragraph of a piece that she wrote for Vice back in 2015 called How Ageism Kills the Careers of Women in the Music Industry. There's a part of me that's terrified to write this. I'm a singer and a songwriter, and as a female who's not yet a household name, I can't help but feel the familiar, deep-seated fear that being open about this fact will lead to my professional demise. I'm fighting it. Here goes. I'm 27. In the article, Lola goes on to detail things that she's heard from managers and other people in the industry, like, you don't have a lot of time here, or
That's
you know you have a limited window of time, right? This article was written in
that's so ridiculous, bro. I think that's so unfair. Like, getting into music is not only a strictly young person's, like, you know, it shouldn't be strictly young person's game, you know what I mean? Like, remember that dude Jelly Roll, you know? Like, people were talking about how he was pushing 40 and he had finally won he finally, like, had his breakout hit and stuff, you know? And people were like, dang, bros, like, why are we commenting on the dude's age? You need to comment on his accomplishments, you know?
in 2015. And perhaps Lola today is celebrating the success of someone like Charlie XCX, who had one of the biggest runs of any pop girl in 2024 with her Brat era, and she was 31 going on 32 for
What?
that. Perhaps
What?
today is celebrating the success of someone like Charlie XCX, who had one of the biggest runs of any pop
I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't prepared for those vibrations.
girl in 2024 with her
I really am Uncle. What's all that movement back there? What's all that movement back there?
Brat era, and she was 31 going on 32 for that.
Wow.
Perhaps things have shifted a bit since 2015, thanks to the ageless power of the algorithm. And you know what? Lola herself put out her biggest song in 2019 when she would have been over the age of 30. Her song Angry 2 has over 80 million streams today.
What?
So good for her. The truth is,
Yeah, shout out to her for real.
plenty of artists don't find their place in today's music industry until they're already past the age that the suits and the Twitter trolls alike would call young.
Yeah.
Breaking through as a musician isn't like graduating high
They love seeing hello fellow kids, bro.
school, where everybody seems to do it mostly around the same age. Some artists like Justin Bieber break through at the age of 14. Others, like the late Charles Bradley, don't get their big break until they're in their 50s. And most artists fall somewhere in between those two. An
Yeah.
artist's place in the industry in terms of their veteran status doesn't always align with how old they are. Here's a fun example. Soulja Boy's first hit, Crank That, came out in 2007.
Yeah.
The first time anyone had heard of New York rapper Fabio Foreign was on the song Big Drip in 2019. You may be surprised to learn that Soulja Boy and Fabio Foreign were both born in 1990.
Yeah, I actually did know that. Like, because that was another thing people were talking about, how old Fabio was.
It makes a little more sense when you think about it. Soulja Boy popped while he was only 16 years old, while Fabio grinded for years in New York before he caught some heat with the drill scene.
Yeah.
But still, for an artist like Soulja Boy, he's had a full span of a career behind him, ranging from more commercial albums
Hey, look, I don't care what nobody says. Hop up out that bed, turn my swag on. Took a look in the mirror, said, "What's up?" Yeah, I'm getting money.
big hits, weirder underground internet stuff,
Yeah.
video game consoles.
That was insane. I ain't gonna lie. He's definitely a hustler, bro. He definitely chases the bag.
Like, he's pretty much done it all. With Fabio, he just got out of his first major label deal. He's only dropped 2 or 3 projects, and now he seems to spend his time convincing us that he is the real Plaque Boy Max. They're in totally different points.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. That is crazy. that's one of those instances where age, it does make you kind of, it's justifiably makes you look a little bit more cringe. You know what I'm saying? 30 something beefing with somebody who just turned, how old was he? Like 21, 22? Yeah, no, more than 10 years younger than you. Yeah, nah, bro.
Points of their careers. And it would make more sense to analyze them from a perspective that included the context of what they've done so far in their career, rather than just being like, this guy is 35. Here's maybe
Yeah.
a more directly comparable one. Tyler, the Creator, was born in 1991, and his tour mate and collaborator Tizo Touchdown was born in 1992. Tizo is considered to be a new artist, and he's somebody who broke out in that immediate post-pandemic era. Maybe it's the nails or the hair. What is it, the nails? Or his general youthful vibe and aesthetic? But a lot of people are surprised to learn that Tizo is a little bit older than they might have guessed. He and
Yeah.
Tyler are almost the same age, and yet nobody would expect them to be delivering the same kind of thing right now. Tyler's first major label studio album was released in 2011, and his real breakout project, Bastard, came out in 2009. Tizo's first major label album came out in 2023. Tyler
Wow.
is playing with house money at this point in his career. He's at no risk of losing his established place in the music world.
Yeah, for real, bro. Like, he literally is just, he really could not drop ever again, and he'll still go down in history, bro.
If anything, he's just trying to run up the score to make a better case to being like the Mount Rushmore of hip-hop artists of his era. Tizo, on the other hand, I'm assuming is working on his sophomore album, which is really a make or break moment for an artist. And
Yeah.
he's still in the relatively early stages of telling us who he is.
But real talk though, like, shout out to dude. Like, every time he gets featured, bro, he usually kills it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. His features go crazy. Like, you can see the actual talent with dude.
What he stands for, the life that he's lived so far. For Tyler, it's a lot different. People are going into his newer projects expecting him to be developing as a person and changing, and stuff that you might expect to hear from a 33-year-old. If he popped out making music like, I'm drinking every night, I started
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
wearing less and going out more, people would be like, this is a midlife crisis, or maybe like a third life crisis, you know?
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying you can't ever go out and stuff, but, like, you know what I mean? Talking about, like, taking so many drugs that you can't even feel your face no more. It's like, okay, gang, like, it's an addiction at this point. You know what I mean? If you want to play into it, it's an addiction. Like, you don't brag about the fact that it's an addiction. That's one thing, but you can, yeah, nah. Well, I feel like once you get past 25, if you still bragging about how many drugs you take, you kind of looking crazy.
You know? I don't know if it would be perceived that way for Tizo Touchdown, whether that's fair or not. There are plenty of artists like Tizo where maybe it just takes a little bit longer for them to break through. And for those where it does happen a little bit later than usual, the age number can become a pretty big insecurity. A British artist named Paloma Faith, who had a big hit in 2014 with Only Love Can Hurt Like This, explicitly lied about her age in the beginning of her career, and she opened up about that in 2021. I always knew that my age was going to be an issue, especially as a female artist. I was 27 when I put my first record out, but I told my label I was 23. I looked quite young, so I could get away with it. I read a lot of articles about musicians.
And you know what? I ain't even mad at her for that. If you lied to a record label, bro, I ought to shake your hand.
At the time, and it seemed like every piece about KT Tunstall would imply that she was quite old, even though she was only 27. That really affected me, and I remember thinking, I want to be judged for my music, not my age.
Exactly.
Not every late 20-something is treated equally. A lot can be controlled for image and marketing. The critique that we see about Flyana Boss isn't necessarily that they're pushing 30. It's that they're pushing 30 and
they're still acting kind of childish.
making the music that they make. Doing what they do in their video.
Like being, and let me just get one thing straight. They're not like objectively childish, you know what I'm saying? They just have a lot of energy and they're doing a whole lot of jumping and bouncing around and stuff, and they're having a lot of fun with it. But like, that's like the energy of like a 20 or 21 year old. So it kind of takes you off guard where you're like, oh, they could be older, you know. If you were to think that these two girls were 30, like they say they're not 30, but if they were 30 doing all this, I'd be like, I probably would, in my head, I'm thinking, damn, how much energy you got? Like, I ain't no way I could be doing all that.
Those dressing how they dress. Is that a valid critique for Flyana Boss? To me, not really. I think the one thing that gets pointed out in their lyrics a lot is, I said I love you to that man, but I'm not feeling him. But is everyone in their mid-20s at their best in communication and relationships? Not really. Plenty of people are still playing games. I'm not condoning it. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
I don't think it's...
Nah. They gonna keep playing games all the way up into their 50s. Like, don't... Trust me, you're not unk for being a little bit of a slut.
super mature, but it seems pretty nitpicky to be like, they can't be 28 saying that.
Yeah, I think it's corny to like actually judge somebody. Look at this thing right here. Okay. He has a valid reason to be looking at her crazy. I'm not gonna lie, because that would be crazy, but you know, it is what it is. Now, I think it's not fair to write off somebody's music because they're a little bit bouncy, even though they're in their 30s potentially. It's like, okay, but like, does it slap though? You know.
Image-wise, perhaps it's the elf ears and the colorful outfits that made people think they were younger than they actually were, and they look young, so I do get that. But I'm also not sure I'm following that fully either. Do elves die at the age of 19? Like, they don't make it to their 30s? I actually spent a good amount of time Googling elves for this video, and the ones in Lord of the Rings are actually immortal unless somebody, like, kills them.
What the hell? I didn't even know that.
You know, like, they're not going to die of old age, so there's no reason why there couldn't be, like, a 30-year-old elf rapping. You know what I'm saying? None of these things are inherently young. You might argue they're inherently fun, or carefree, or whimsical.
See, my only issue is that, is it cringe? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it cringe? As long as it's not cringe, then I don't think it's a big deal. I've seen these two on my For You page a bunch of times before. I've never even heard anybody talk about their age. You know, it was just always people saying they bouncing around too much.
Or silly, or colorful. And perhaps all of those adjectives are associated with youth. And of course, there's a reason why people want to get in on that youthful energy. It's one of the most reliable selling tactics, not just in music, but in everything. For one, it's perceived to be relatable to the 18 to 25 demographic,
which is like the biggest demographic, the demographic that'll easily give you the most amount of money,
who are so sought after by marketers and labels and
I swear
powers
to God,
that be.
Because those are the ones who will actually buy. Those are the ones most likely to buy merch. You know, those are the ones the most likely go to your concerts. Those are the ones the most likely follow you on Instagram and social media. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, nah. that's why.
Because they're deemed to be the most impressionable, at least in terms of groups that have spending money.
Yeah.
With the way old people are falling for AI slop on Facebook, I'm starting to question that logic, but I do see where they're coming from. There is an incentive for artists, both old and young, to appear. youthful and zeitgeisty.
Yeah.
Because plain and simple, it sells. Some artists are hyper aware of both the allure of being youthful and carefree and the drawbacks of being spotted hanging out at the party a little bit too long, like that one super senior who didn't go away to college.
Yeah, okay, that's crazy.
My favorite example of this is Ken Carson, who had an EP called Teen X in 2020. The EP released the same year he turned 20, but I guess conceivably he could have made most of the songs, if not all the songs on Teen X, while he was still 19. Thus,
Don't tell me people were getting on him for calling it Teen X and he was 20.
a teenager. Ken picked a pretty catchy nickname for himself. It was influential enough for his label boss, Playboi Carti, to name an entire song Teen X on his album Whole Lotta Red later that year. Ken referred to it a few more times while he was 20 or 21, most memorably on the song Teen Bean, when he said, "She like, ain't you Ken Carson, ain't you Teen X?" But at some point, Ken must have come to the sobering conclusion that he could no longer call himself Teen X if he wasn't literally a teen. So in 20...
Yeah, okay. I was about to say, I hope nobody was like really trying to like come at him for saying Teen X when he was 20. I'm like, okay, bro, that's like, I ain't even concerned about that. Now, if he kept that label, you know, that's where it's like, okay, like Young Jeezy, he don't go by Young Jeezy no more. He just go by Jeezy because he's like, what, like almost 40? Yeah, nah. This dude is almost 50. You gotta, you can't be Young Jeezy no more.
2022.
Shout out, but I love Jeezy though.
That he could no longer call himself Teen X if he wasn't literally a teen. So in 2022, he dropped an album called X, and on the track title, his first line is, "Ain't no Teen X no more, it's just X." And then later on his most recent album, A Great Chaos, he refers back to that "Ain't you Ken Carson, ain't you Teen X" line from Teen Bean, but instead says, "She like, ain't you Ken Carson, ain't you X." If you think about it, Ken Carson was actually the first entity to rename itself X, because Twitter didn't do it until 2023. This
Wow.
also might be the deepest dive that anyone's ever done on Ken Carson lyrics, but that's just the type of shit that you get up to when you're young, lit, and 29 like me.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yo, look, see, I like hip hop, but I could never be a hip hop analyst because to catch that, bro, you really gotta be like really paying attention.
One of the more common rapper prefixes is Young, whether it be Jeezy, Thug, M.A., Dolph, rest in peace, Boy Never Broke Again. Jeezy, who is currently 47, made the decision to drop Young from his name around 2010.
Yeah, he did that back in 2010. Look, I ain't gonna lie, respect to him.
When he was 32 years old. When he first started rapping, he might have been Young Jeezy. But by 2010, that was just Jeezy, you know? Young Thug is actually right around that age now, but he might have bigger fish to fry than worrying about what his name is.
Honestly, bro, he could... Because people don't really even call him Young Thug. They just call him Thugga Thugga. people just call him... They call him Sex. They call him Thug. Like... But I don't think you can just change your name to Thug.
I do kind of wonder how long he's going to be Young Thug for. NBA Youngboy, still somehow only 25, so...
I keep forgetting me and him are the same age. That's crazy work.
He might be NBA Youngboy for a minute.
Yeah.
The Lil prefix in rap is one of the more ambivalent ones.
Yeah, because I feel like you can, keep that, especially if you're short. Shout out Lil Wayne.
Because they could be Lil because they're young, but they also could be Lil just because they're Lil.
Yeah,
like just because they're short or small or diminutive in some way. You know what I mean? Bow Wow dropped the Lil from his name in 2002.
I forgot he was called Lil Bow Wow.
Telling MTV, "I changed my name because I'm getting older now and it's too many Lils." But he was literally a child when he was Lil Bow Wow. So I think that example is kind of an outlier. There are plenty of grown man rappers who are Lil something, Lil Wayne. But
shout out to Weezy.
To me, that kind of falls in the same category as being a junior. Like Ken Griffey Jr., Robert Downey Jr., RFK Jr.
Yeah, that makes... Damn. Yeah, that nigga definitely not a junior.
Like that. It just implies that there was a bigger and older version of you at some point, so you had to be the Lil them. You don't drop Junior when you get older. I mean, Junior Soprano was a junior until he was in his 80s. Yeah. Forget about names for a second. I don't think that there's a set age where an artist has to stop talking about something because they're too old for it. Juicy J's hit single Bands Make Her Dance, where he says, "You say no to ratchet, Juicy J can't," came out when he was 37. But I don't think there were that many. No.
Okay, look, let me stop you there, because the reason why Juicy J could get away with it is because he did it in a way to where it didn't sound like something that only a young person would do. You know what I'm saying? Juicy J cake. Juicy, he just had that. He had that flair with it, that flair. That's like it don't even matter what age you is, bro. You say no to ratchet pussy, Juicy J cake. Plus he kind of built his whole career based on like making lyrics like that. 3-6 Mafia, bro. He's got crazy bars back then.
Many people who were like, man, come on, get out of the club, go coach a high school football team.
Yeah.
Drake is around that same age now, and he does get criticism from people for not maturing enough in his lyrics.
Yeah.
I think he's an artist who, because he has so many pockets and so many bags, so many different things he's done across his career, whenever he drops a project, there will always be a disappointed cohort because they wanted more this Drake or more that Drake, and what they got was a different Drake that they weren't necessarily hitching their wagon to.
Nah, no matter what you do, there's always going to be a group of people who have something to complain about. That's why you just got to do you and not be concerned about what other people think a lot of the times. Like, you got to trust that you got to trust that you got skills,
But I actually thought on his most recent project, Some Sexy Songs for You, at least on the outro, Greedy, which is one of my favorite songs, I can hear him getting a little more mature in his assessment of his own relationships. Can't imagine how it feels to be in love with me for real. When I disappear for days, you convince yourself you're to blame. It feels like an honest acceptance of some of his flaws.
That I love somebody who can admit that they're not a good partner, Like, and they say it in a clever way. Like, that's why I love the Old Weekend, you know what I'm saying?
Compare that to another R&B classic Drake song that's like a late track on an album, Fire and Desire from Views, which is about a decade old now, which is kind of crazy to think about. He said, I ask you what I need, you say a guarantee. I mean, you say that like it's easy. It sounds like a girl just wanted a little bit of a commitment, and he avoided it, but he didn't take responsibility for it. So I actually do see some growth from Fire and Desire to Greedy. So I want to give Drake some props. But it is
I'll be real with you, bro. The last Drake album that I ever listened to like all the way through was was Her Loss. Before that, it was like if you're reading this, it's too late. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to Drake, but I was never like the biggest Drake fan.
A reminder, that maturation is gonna look different for different artists because they're all in different contexts. They're all coming from different places, starting here and ending up here. And so depending on where they start, where they end up might look totally different.
Okay, and sorry, I have to go back. The only reason why I even listened to the entirety of Her Loss is because the coworker that I worked at the time, we used to work in house restoration. He would always bring a speaker and he would play that album front to back. Like I sometimes I wanted to throw a hammer at this dude. That's the only reason why I heard all of the songs from Her Loss. It was not by choice.
Drake still does make some music for the club, and some people get on him for that, saying he's too old for it. But interestingly, I don't remember as much complaining about Juicy J or an artist like 2 Chainz, who, when he was dominating, making his most popular music, he was in his mid to late 30s. Fabio was pushing 30, making songs with a 19-year-old, 20-year-old Pop Smoke. And nobody said anything about it because they had amazing chemistry musically, and they seemed to have a genuine friendship and relationship out.
Yeah, I think depending on the quality, it'll outclass all of the real shallow criticisms that a lot of people can give it. You know what I'm saying?
Outside of music, it feels
like with when it came to X, right? Biggest criticism everybody always talked about when he first popped out was like, all you do is just scream and yell on the mic. But then he started dropping songs where he started to rap, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, they had listened to Look at Me, but they didn't listen to the rest of his discography. He had a lot of introspective type of music before he started the screaming and yelling stuff. And when people came used to just the screaming and yelling, he started dropping back to his more lyrical stuff, and it was good. And people mess with the lyrical stuff probably more than the yelling stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it was crazy because at the beginning, this is a crazy frame, bro. I'm sorry. At the beginning, everybody was like, oh, yeah, I like your song, Look at Me. And, yeah, I like it when X yell. But, you know what I mean? I'm yapping. Let me play it.
Musically, and they seem to have a genuine friendship and relationship outside of music. It feels selective. You know, we decide whether we like the product first, and then if we don't like it, we use the age as the vehicle to complain about it.
Nah, like if they like, if somebody don't like you, they will find every reason under the sun to justify why they don't like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk, bro. Like, imagine people didn't like Rihanna, which is crazy, which is hard to imagine. She probably would have to go into hiding with the stuff people would probably say about her.
This part of the conversation makes me want to revisit that Lola article about being a 27-year-old pop girl. There is an aspect of sexism in this age argument, and I think it's worth taking a deeper look at.
Yeah, definitely.
We talked about the Jeezys, the Drakes, the 2 Chainses of the world.
But you ain't talking about I'm about to say Iggy Azalea's. Jesus, you know what? I'm about to shut up, bro. I think I lost my hip hop license for saying Iggy Azalea first. Oh my God, no.
If a male rapper broke out in their early 30s, you think they would receive as much pushback as a 27-year-old girl in a record label meeting? I don't think so. When the industry sells female artists, their ideal way of doing so is focusing on beauty.
Yeah.
And if they sign an artist at 27 instead of 22,
you're not gonna be beautiful much longer. Like, gang, shut up, bro. Oh my goodness. The red pillars. A woman after 30 becomes less valuable. Like, gang, what the hell are you talking about? I love me a cougar.
they theoretically would have less years to exploit that beauty because they don't know how the artist is going to age. I think this is bullshit.
Yeah,
it's not crazy. Something that I co-sign. And to be honest, there are plenty of examples that go against that. Sis is in her mid-30s, and she's never been more popular than she is right now. And
she looks beautiful. Beautiful. Age on a woman is like wine, okay? It gets better with time because it turns into like, because when it's like a young girl, it's fine shit. But when it's an older woman, it's just sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's different. It's different.
It's not going to change anytime soon.
Definitely love me an older woman.
And as someone who understands the power of marketing, and I do enjoy looking at it and breaking it down sometimes, at the end of the day, I want the music industry to be a meritocracy. I want it to be about who makes the best music and not who makes the best Super Bowl commercial to sell the music.
Exactly.
I can see that seep into the complaints about Flyana Boss. In 2023, they were probably like 26. Bossman D-Lo is 26. Is anyone telling him that he's too old to be doing what he's doing?
No.
So they're definitely...
Yo, he's cooking. He's cooking. Like, he's right. Like, it's crazy how much differently women get treated, and then people got the nerve to tell them to shut up. It's like, what? What do you mean? Like,
is an aspect of sexism in this argument. The reality is, we shouldn't be telling Bossman D-Lo or Flyana Boss that they're too old to be doing what they're doing.
As long as they making good music, bro, they can do whatever they want.
In my opinion. The fact that one size doesn't fit all when it comes to age and maturity and expectations is why the type of ageism that we see with Flyana Boss is so silly. They are new artists. They are still young, and they're still giving us some of their earliest ideas. Why does them being closer to 30 than 20 take away any of the enjoyment from it?
And it's weird how, like, when an artist is like, I'm about to say busting out extreme pause. It's crazy how when an artist makes like a big debut or whatever, people always tend to assume that it's a younger person, because why are we acting surprised whenever we find out somebody is older? Like, that means you had assumed they were younger. Why do we always like to assume that only younger artists can get big debuts? You're saying, like, once you pass a certain age, you just gotta give it up? Like, what are we talking about?
Outside of music, there's an argument that in our society, our timeline for success and leaving the nest is getting pushed further and further back.
Yeah.
According to urban.org, the average age that someone's moved out of their parents' house has pushed back from 23 in the 90s to 26 or 27 now.
And look, bro, that is nothing wrong with that. Like, if you have that opportunity, you got to take advantage of that. Like, why would you want, just because you don't want people to judge you? Like, man, fuck that. I'm trying to get me a crib. What you talking about?
There are a lot of reasons for this. The most likely being that it's less and less realistic for adults in their mid-20s to be
many such cases, bro.
Capable of buying a home financially. There's the aspect of dating and less people getting married at that age now, especially in like big cities.
Yeah.
So couple that with this pushback on people's timelines and then add in, these growth stunting events like the 2020 global pandemic. And it's no wonder that people in their mid to late 20s are still saying, I love you to that man, but not feeling him. That post-college getting your life together purgatory has expanded. What's really interesting to me is you look at these statistics that show you that people are more and more likely to be in their mid to late 20s living like they are in their early to mid 20s. And from there, you might expect that they would want artists that they could relate to in that aspect.
Yeah. This dude is cooking, bro.
And to be fair, a lot of people probably do find Flyana Boss to be very relatable.
Yeah.
And we're really just looking at the bitterest slice of the conversation.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. The vocal minority is always like, it never represents the true, because there's a vocal minority and there's a silent majority. There's a reason why their stuff went viral. You know what I'm saying? With all the people who are just trashing it, it's still going viral because there's people who are still listening to it. So clearly something is being done right. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be shallow and just completely write something off because somebody on Instagram said that they might be 30, you know, speculating somebody's age is kind of crazy, but okay, let's go. Like, I don't know.
In this video. But it's hard to imagine anyone in their 30s or anyone in their early 20s hating on Flyana Boss for being 28. It feels like most of this vitriol is coming from people who are their age.
And yeah. And they're like, damn, like, man, why ain't they just working and doing nothing like me?
I think a pretty decent chunk of this discourse is most likely coming from projection. People are frustrated with feeling stuck in their mid to late 20s, wanting to level up in life, but economic situations, global pandemics, things like that are getting in the way of it.
Yeah,
so they take it out on these
frustrations.
two rapper girls online. What I find super interesting about this critique,
how dare you be happy in these times? You're happy in this economy? Like, what?
is that it only seems to apply to people who are in their mid to late 20s, or maybe their early 30s, who may have just outgrown the age for it to be socially acceptable for them to be making music and promoting it in the way that they are.
No, because they feel like it is. There is no minimum requirement to start chasing your dream. Don't ever tell yourself that. But so many people do tell themselves that they don't do that. I think I have the same exact lamp as him. Yo, that's freaky. I just peeped that. I was like, is that my lamp? Twin? Ow, I hit my hand. Twin?
On the other end of the spectrum, when old people are doing it, it seems to be celebrated more.
Yeah.
When I think about Pete and Boss, British rap duo of these like 70-something-year-old white guys, most of the comments are super supportive of them. Perhaps it's
because they're actually good, and it's like, okay, big unks.
treated like a bit of a gimmick. It's not put in the same category as the other British rappers.
Yeah, it's
They're
not
not
seen
about
as
to be in the
serious.
studio with Lancey Foe and Fimi Guerrero. But I think the average reaction to them is more positive than it is to artists in their late 20s or early 30s still trying to make it. I've seen a version of this in my own career with my project Elmjack. My friend Rome and I decided to use our dads as the face of the project.
Oh, that's really, that's super creative.
Dropped our first 2 tracks and we have a third one coming out later this month.
Okay.
On TikTok, we post things like, am I too old to start a band? And people in the comments are unbelievably supportive. This isn't just a gimmick to us or something that we just made up to go viral. Rome and I are building out a whole world with this Elmjack thing, and this is kind of just the first phase of it. You just got to stick around and see what we're doing.
Okay,
but the
bet.
funny thing is,
W promo.
one of the reasons why we were
Did I just say W promo? Oh my god. I'm saying W and L. I fall into the stereotype.
motivated to do it in the first place is because as 29-year-olds, we feel old in music. Like, when you turn that camera on, when you promote yourself on TikTok, when you do all that kind of stuff, and you're up against these 18-year-old kids, like, I feel the way that my dad looks in that video.
Yeah.
And what I'm most curious about...
But you know what? And that just shows you how good of a dad you got, because your dad wasn't afraid to do that video. He wasn't, like, embarrassed to do it. He did it. And you know what I'm saying? And he looked pretty confident while doing it. Like, I really didn't realize that was your dad. I thought you... I ain't gonna lie. I thought you used, like, a filter on yourself and you aged yourself up somehow. That's real impressive, man.
Is the listener. How does learning the age of an artist affect the way that you consume the music, if it does at all? I work at a high school, and I also take advantage of the gym in the high school and work out so that I can get, if you couldn't If you couldn't tell, y'all can tell, right? And I was down there listening to the Netsband album one day, and I thought it was really funny that I was listening to a rapper who is genuinely younger than some of my students. But at the end of the day...
How old is Netsband? What? Oh, he's 18. 2007? Jesus.
To me, good music is good music. Age might affect the way artists are marketed to you, or maybe if they're marketed to you at all. But I feel like for me, when I listen to something new, you know, there's a couple different categories I can place it in. It's like, I like this, I think this is good, but it's not something I'm gonna listen to every day. Or there's stuff that I'm gonna put in my rotation because it inspires me, it bangs, I enjoy listening to it, you know?
I'm not gonna ever hear a song and say, get this 30-year-old out my ears. Like, what?
And then there's stuff that's just ass. But I don't think the age aspect ever plays a negative role for me. If I listen to a younger artist, they have the room to impress me, and I'm like, damn, there's no way this kid is only 17.
Yeah, I like that. You gotta always have an open mind, you know? I mean, I hate people who are just so close-minded. Like, if they find out one thing about your artist that they don't like, oh, I don't like the fact that it's a white rapper, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna immediately write them off. Like, dude, what? You're not even gonna hear them out? Like, during the SoundCloud era, you know, it was pissing me off how many people would like trash the SoundCloud rappers, not even give them a chance, not even give them the time of day, because they didn't want to admit the fact that times were changing and this is just the new wave coming in, you know? People didn't want to accept the fact that they were getting older. Like, it comes full circle. It makes so much sense now.
But also, if it's missing something, if it's not fully there yet, age is a great crutch, because you'll be like, damn, this kid is still better than I was then. And when they really start to figure it out, if they keep working at it, they're going to be hella fire.
It shows you who you are as a person. Like, if you see somebody and the first thing you think is, dang, I could have been in their position. You know what I'm saying? That shows you what kind of mindset you have. If you look at somebody and say, okay, let's see how you're going crazy. You know what I mean? You can't look at somebody and then immediately start to envy them and then immediately have that envy turn to hate, you know? I think that's what a lot of people do, but you will not get a lot of people who will admit that they do that.
And if they're a bit older, I don't think that negatively affects me at all. Maybe it's my own perspective of being a 20-something for a couple more months, still trying to make it in music. But when I see an artist that gets to me and has a youthful image, but they're like 29 or they're like 32, then I actually applaud them, because I think it's sick that they push through, because I know how much BS you had to push through to get there.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Does the age of an artist affect the way that you listen to them? Let me know in the comments. And also, let me know what you want me to cover next. Peace.
Good video. Damn. YouTube don't play around with the autoplay. How do you only have 14K? You deserve a lot more. Yeah, nah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Damn, I was about to say something. I completely forgot. That's crazy. Wow. I completely forgot what I was about to say. It must have been not important. Anyway, good video.